everybody, my name's Rena and I'm the philosophical Goob, because there's one. And today I'm going to present or tackle the topic of the soul and give you two arguments that are from the materialist point of view, and then give my argument against that. So first, what the materialist believes is that everything that exists in this reality is material and made out of matter. So first I'll present to you the old argument. Sorry if Gur's in the way. But the old argument is when trying to locate the soul, because remember, the materialist is going to tackle and attack the idea of a soul being non-material or immaterial. So the first one says, I am my body. The second one says, which we can agree to, right? We are our bodies. The second one says, I am my soul, which we can agree to as well. Then thirdly, it says, I need both my soul and my body in order to exist right now, which we would agree that's true too. But yet the conclusion says, my body dies, but I still live. So the problem with that conclusion is, because as most theological religions that believe in a soul believe that the soul goes on and we go on. However, the only problem with this is, if we're saying that our old body dies, but yet we're still able to live, then how is it that we have to have those two things right now in order to exist, but yet we agreed that we need to have both? So all of a sudden, when we don't have one piece, how is it possible that we can continue to exist? That's not possible in this argumentation style. So again, in order to continue existing, how can I continue to live if it means that I'm losing one of the components in which I need and have agreed that is how I exist? So that's the first fundamental problem from the materialist point of view regarding a soul, an immaterial soul. The second one is the new problem that is presented with our modern technology and whatnot. So the new problem, I know my drawing's not the best, but please bear with me. So there's like a little guy on a table, or girl, or whomever on the table, right? And they have their brain open, and this is a little doctor, and they're prodding the brain, right? And then you have this little person down here that's making a picture of the brain. So this is an argument that has gone on for as long as science has been able to poke and prod at the human brain. Come and sit down, please. So what happens is, upon prodding the brain, the doctor notices, they ask the patient, tell me about your day going to the store. So the patient says, I went to the store, and they poke a part of the brain, and sobbing. And then they stop poking the brain, and the person goes, and saw a dog, and they poke the brain again. And then secrets, they're telling all their deepest, darkest secrets. And then when they stop poking the brain, then they continue their story and say, and then got some, and then they poke the brain again, and ha ha ha, just like exuberant laughter, like nothing but laughter. And then they unpoke the brain, and then they say bread. So the story, as they believe it to be, and has told it as conscientiously and consciously as they can, has been, I went to the store and saw a dog, then grabbed some bread. Bless you. And so in this structure, what they're saying, what the argumentation style is, if the soul is somewhere, which some would say, bless you, that it's the brain. If the soul is in the brain, then how come when I poke and prod at these specific sections, bless you, sorry, and when I poke and prod at these specific sections, which in every brain, we keep poking the same sections and getting the same results, 1, 2, and 3, and then 1, 2, and 3 down here, then why is it so consistent that when I poke this part of the brain and unpoke it, these reactions happen? And when those reactions are happening and I unpoke the brain, the person can't remember that those have happened. So that would seem to say, if the soul is in the brain, or the soul is up there, then why is it that we can have these different reactions and we don't even remember what those are? It seems that in some instance, go sit down, in some instance, the soul, or what we can argue the soul is to a materialist, is suspended. And then these functions, which are out of our control, which seems incongruent with the soul functioning, right? How come those are happening and yet we don't remember? So that is the second argumentation for the materialist as to why the soul doesn't exist. So with these ideas in mind, excuse me, Ger. So with these ideas in mind, I think the problem is, first of all, understanding what the soul is. So I believe that the soul is not material. I believe it's immaterial. Go sit, please. And one thing that I like to point out is that, especially with death, we coming so far as we have with science and everything in between, we have the idea that upon dying, we have the facts in science that matter nor energy is neither created nor destroyed. So if you have this energy, this that's possessing, not possessing, but like encapsulated in your body, and then you perish, how is it that we haven't been able to measure this dispersal of energy where we, oh, poof, it goes into the air and all of a sudden it is no more? It seems like there should be some kind of amendment to the understanding of what happens with the energizing of our body, and then it's just over. So that's already a problem right off the bat. And then again, with that coupling of science that matter is not destroyed nor created, and same with energy, then how is it that we have, where does it come from and where does it go? Not Cotton Eye Joe, but like nonetheless, here's what I posit. I posit that the soul is not so much encapsulated just solely here, no pun intended, but I think our brain and our body works as a conduit. And what I mean by that is, think of like how you use your internet and your computer. So you have the router, which is the thing in between the signal and the computer, and that's what I think the brain works as. So while I think that the body and the brain help us to practice and experience this reality, I think that the soul doesn't come necessarily from this piece. I think that the soul interacts with this piece, and in doing so can interact with the world around us. So as I said before, I believe that the soul is kind of like the internet, and then I think that, and like electrical current, and I think that the brain works more so as a router that works as an in-between to kind of get that signal through. And then the body and us, our expression and stuff, is us on the other side, which would be like the computer. So in this methodology too, I believe that this answers the question from the old question, because in that way, we would need a body and a soul, but I think the crux of it is the word exist. And I think that in this reality and in this universe, in order to exist is implying material. So in order to exist, which means experience things in the material plane, which is this, yes, you would need a body and a soul. However, whatever happens after this, whether it be an idealistic type of nirvana, or whether it be another life cycle, or whether it be whatever, maybe something unexplainable that happens after this that we experience, I believe that that's not necessarily live, like I still live. I think what it means is like the consciousness or our essence continues on. And so, yeah, so while I don't think that it's, and it would also explain with the new argument that the router theory as well, and that's what I call it too, the router theory. But like with the router theory, that would also explain why upon tapping and poking these separate parts of the brain, you have these different outputs. It's because you're messing with the router. It's like if the internet were flowing through the router and I'm in there tinkering with it, and then it does something janky or kind of off, and then you get what you get as far as the result. And yeah, maybe that would also explain like everything else. So that's my theory of the soul, and that's my theory against the materialist soul. Sorry, she's grumpy because she's tired, but like but I hope you enjoyed, and she also wants to play, but I hope you enjoyed that, and it gave you at least some food for thought. And that's, like I said, my argument against the materialist. And I would love to talk about the soul more, and what I think the soul is, and where I think it might go after, and what it means to live this life. And I think a big thing to take away from this too, kind of jumping over to when we were talking about morality a couple episodes ago too, which we're going to get into more. But for morality also, it means that even if this was a simulation, which I don't think that it is at all, but if you're in the type of argumentation style or belief that this is all a simulation, then it doesn't really matter in the end. No pun intended with the matter thing, but like it doesn't really matter in the end too, because that doesn't take away the fact that you are your essence and you are your being. So the habits and the things that you practice are things that help make your constitution and your ethics and your morals, and they keep that growing and nurtured. So no matter if this is a simulation or it's a practice run or it's a limbo or whatever you may think it is, It matters about what you practice and what you harness and those things that you nurture yourself with to become the type of person that you want to be. But thank you, and always remember to be excellent. Thank you.